Hello, and welcome to the interview series One-on-One. I'm your host, Dan Dearborn, here at Encore Studios in Einan, Pennsylvania. One-on-One is a chance to share and learn as musicians from musicians as we trace the musical journey of each guest from the beginning. Today's guest is a multifaceted musician who's been a conductor, performer, composer, and professor. He holds a doctorate in music, and that road has taken him all over. Thankfully, though, those roads have led him here to Northeast Pennsylvania, where he's the current drummer for the 2024 Steamtown Music Awards winner for Best Country Band, Wagner Road. Thank you for joining me today as I go one-on-one with Dr. Pete DeSalvo. Pete DeSalvo, I appreciate Thank you for stopping by and giving me some time to... Absolutely. So let's just get right into this. Tell us what instruments you play.
It's probably easier to tell you what I don't play, but I'm a classically trained percussionist, so I play all drums, hand percussion, classical percussion like timpani, marimba, xylophone, you name it that way. I also play keyboards, and I play brass instruments as well. Actually, I had to learn all the instruments to be able to be a teacher, and I taught for almost 40 years on Long Island at the high school level and college level. So you have to be able to play to a certain level just about every instrument. So I mean, I've taught orchestras as well, so I mean string instruments too. So
let me ask you, would you say your main instrument, you're a drummer? Or a percussionist?
Percussionist, I would say, yeah. Drum percussion.
Do you think having a background in chordal structure because of some of the other instruments, because I know you play a little keyboard, does that help you when you're playing drums or creating drum parts for a song because you have a different understanding of the chords than maybe some other drummers who don't have the background in music?
Well, with the background in music that I do have, I've taught theory, I've taught jazz harmony, you know, that type of thing. So I have a lot of experience that way. I think it helps more for structure of songs.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, that way. Also, I know, you know, if there's a turnaround, I know something's coming up. I need to prep it with something, you know, drumistically to set the band up for that, you know, that new direction or the end of a phrase or whatever.
Right. So would your advice be to drummers to maybe get a little bit of knowledge from some other instruments, a bass, or just learn some chord, just a little bit? You don't have to become proficient, but just so you're able to speak.
Absolutely. The more you can learn about music, the more you can relate to what's going on around you. And as a drummer, you know, your main job is obviously is to keep the band together, keep tempo, keep, you know, the pulse, make it feel right. But if you have an understanding of form, of keys that's going on, that helps. You know there's at the key change you're going to, if you don't know what a key change is,
right,
obviously then that's not going to be helpful. But if you're a singing drummer like myself, you should know the ins and outs.
Where were you born?
I was born on Long Island, and that's where I grew up and went to school, and I taught for many years there.
So it's funny. I'm from New Jersey, and New York and New Jersey guys don't like each other until we get to Pennsylvania. Then it's, oh, we love you, love you. Oh my God! Where were your parents?
Let's see. My dad was born in Maspeth, Queens, and my mom was born in Brooklyn. But they're basically they moved out to Long Island, you know, very young.
And what did your father do?
Well, my father was a musician. He was a trumpet player, but his main thing all his life was he was an auto body repairman. And the reason why he did that was because my grandfather didn't like the idea that he kind of forced me with the music. And I mean, I had to draw my snare drum, I believe, at like 3 years old, because he would take me to parades. And parades, when the drums went by, was like, wow, something about it clicked. So when I was 5, I begged my parents, and they finally got me lessons. I started lessons just before my 6th birthday. So I tell people I started at 5, but close enough. And by 7, I was taking piano lessons with the same teacher, and eventually I started. My dad played trumpet, so of course I wound up playing trumpet in elementary school and trombone in high school. But I was still studying percussion all the way through anyway, and then I auditioned at college as a percussion teacher.
And what did your mother do?
She would say she played the radio.
Okay. How many siblings do you have?
I have one brother. He's younger than me by 3 years.
And how would you describe your childhood?
Oh, it was happy. It was a good child. My brother and I, we played out in the woods. We lived, on the end of a dirt road and way out on Long Island. And it was a fun childhood. But we would play out in the garage with my dad, and we had a band, and I was playing gigs at 12 years old with my dad.
Did your brother play an instrument?
He played saxophone.
All right.
So the first band that we had, actually, we played weddings back on Long Island when I was 12 and 13. He played sax, I played drums. My dad played trumpet. We had another trumpet player. So it was a pretty big band. Guitarist and bass player and
what did that impact have on you? I mean, obviously you played, but the impact on the relationship with your father, was he approving of you going into music?
Oh, absolutely.
And does your brother still play today? The internal thing of being like the last standing musician, is that ever in the?
Well, I've been playing music all my life, and it's part of my life. It's my passion. Teaching it was a passion of mine as well, but it was. I mean, I grew up with my dad always playing music and playing Harry James and in Doc Severinsen and all the jazz trumpet, the jazz trumpet players he would listen to, but mostly it was big band jazz.
Okay.
So I heard that all the time, and God forbid I started listening to Elvis.
Do you remember the moment when you went from just being a kid who had parents to that moment that music made its way into your consciousness? Was there one specific thing, or something your father did, or something you heard, or just that moment that it kind of the switch flipped for you?
I don't.
Or just a gradual?
I think it was probably gradual, but I think it was when I was in high school. I decided that I was thinking, well, see, I was really good in science and math, and I was really good in music. So it was like, okay, do I do something like being a research chemist or a musician? And I went, research chemist, probably making a lot more money, but this is where my passion is. So I just said, okay, I'm just going to be a musician and be a music teacher. And degrees later, and that's.
Do you feel like in those early years you experienced or heard music differently than your friends?
Well, it's hard to say because my friends we were all kind of like in music. So
okay.
It's you kind of like you'll have the same ideas, the same hearing. You hear things differently. Like most people, they listen to a song and they listen to the lyrics. I don't always do that. Sometimes I don't even know what the lyrics are. I'm listening more harmonically, melodically,
I do the same thing.
Rhythmically, what's going on, the form of the song. I mean, if I can hear in first 30 seconds of a song, if I like the music, and then if I like it, I might want to delve into what the lyrics say, and then when I'm playing, I want to know what the lyrics are because many times you can accentuate what's being played, what's being sung about, the story or whatever. But musically, well, see, I also come from a classical experience, and playing, with an orchestra, playing timpani with an orchestra, or even conducting. I've done a lot of conducting over the years. There are no words, but there's emotions.
And right. What era of music do you feel most defines you? Were you a 60s kid, or is it?
That's a tough one because I listened to all different genres of music, and I've played just about every one. I haven't played death metal or or any rap or anything, like that. Only, and I did audition for a band once a long time ago, and I didn't know what it was until I walked in there and they said, "Oh, you're not for us." And I said, "What is it? The height? Because I'm short, right?" No, it's the image doesn't work. You're not going to even have me play. No, the image. It's in it. Oh, fine. Okay, I get it.
So I'm guilty of that, and I want to apologize on behalf of all of us because that was my first question when we called guys like, "Hey, how old are you? How long is your hair?" Because if guys said I'm 30, I'm like, "Oh, you're too old to play with." Oh my God.
I've been bald for probably since college, so it doesn't really. I mean, that's why sometimes I've been in dance. That's why they said you must wear a hat. You must wear a hat. Okay, all right. That's what I have to do.
Early on, was there a time you were singled out because of your musical ability that you really said, like, wow, this really could be something like you were first noticed for having some talent?
Well, okay. In high school, yeah, I was, I pretty much circled around music, and people knew me for the music side of things. So I was kind of a big fish in a small pond until I got to college, and then I was a little fish in a big pond. And that's when I got my butt kicked, and I really had to work hard to do anything better.
Do you remember the first song you learned to play?
Learn to play? No, that's. I remember my first lesson, and it was, holding the sticks, and it was the turns, and of course I was 5 years old, so just about 6, and my mother came into the lessons, and she watched each lesson, and then she'd come home, and she would explain it to me, because he was talking quarter notes and half notes and eighth notes, and I was like, yeah, okay. Like
That's funny.
And she would explain it to me, and actually we came up with a whole, like with rudiments. There were we came up with different words to think of to know how long and how to play a rudiment. It was like, and it was my mom who did that. And like I said, she played the radio.
Did you did you learn traditional grip, or did you?
I learned traditional grip, yes, originally. So I play both traditional and match, but because once you go to timpani and mallet instruments, you wind up playing match grip anyway.
Right.
But for a lot of the playing that I do, like when I'm playing rock or anything, it's a little heavier, I'll use match grip. If I'm playing a jazz gig, I'm back to traditional. That's what it is. It's what feels comfortable for the style.
I would say either or. You go back and forth. It's comfortable for you. Did you participate in either band or chorus in school? I mean, obviously you played band in school, but
band, orchestra, chorus.
Right. Yeah. Any memorable experiences with
performing in school?
Yeah.
In school, I had a lot of really good, experiences playing. So it's really hard to just say one experience was outstanding.
Now, how old were you when you started composing your own music?
Well, that's an interesting thing. When I was probably early high school, I was playing. Obviously, like every other high school kid, he picks up a guitar, and I taught myself how to play guitar, and I played bass and stuff. But I was writing songs at home. And I remember one night I was up all night. I had this song. I had this great song. Well, the next morning, listening to the radio, I heard that song. And I realized that, because I always went to sleep with the radio on, with some music on. And I had taken a song, changed the words. The melody was the same song. The words were different. The key was even in the same key. And I thought I had this great song until I heard it on radio. And after that, I stopped writing songs for myself. Other than just, I've written percussion ensemble music and done a lot of arranging and orchestration, because I figured that's safer.
Right.
Because there's always that doubt. Am I going to do that again where I copied somebody, without knowing it,
Now, was that the first song you wrote, or
no?
Do you remember the first song?
No, That's back. That's too far back.
Right. I know. Trust me, I get it. I get it.
Do you remember the first song?
I do.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
I do. It was a very momentous occasion for me, and I'm not going to say it here, but I'll tell you about it when we get off because it's quite embarrassing.
Then I'll tell you.
It's a silly song.
I'll tell you the song that it was,
Okay,
and you're gonna laugh.
Good.
And
you still write songs today?
Not really songs. I do more arranging and orchestrating, and I've written shows for marching bands for field shows. I've taken music, rearranged it, orchestrated things like that. I do more of that because I feel that's a little more in my wheelhouse. The words.
Before we got, who were your earliest influences, and have they remained as prevalent and important to you today in the way you approach music?
It's I've learned from everyone that I've either played with or listened to. So, and sometimes it's something that you don't like, and you learn that it's something that you don't like.
Right.
Or so it's hard to say that there's one or two artists or people that have affected me that way. But my biggest influence was my dad. Yes.
And do you have children?
I have two, a son and a daughter.
And what do they have a relationship with music? Are they musical at all?
Actually, they both played music in school. My son played string bass, and my daughter played saxophone. And both of them pretty much have let it go. It's not part of their lives. They don't share the same passion that I do. But that's okay.
No, absolutely.
But they benefited from it. They experienced it. They have a love of music, so that's real important. Just like when I taught, I never thought that I would be teaching people to become professionals. Although I have several people students that I've had that have gone on professionally playing.
I just my thing. My father was a teacher, which meant I never wanted to be a teacher. And I'm a musician, and my kids kind of played a little bit throughout school, but that was not their thing. I could drag my kids to Guitar Center. They were the only kids. They're like, "Oh my God, we don't want to touch it. We just want to get out of here," So, how long early on did you take lessons?
I started lessons when I was like 5.5, 6 years old.
And you continued that for a while.
I was even taking lessons after I got my first degree in college. I was studying then privately in Manhattan with Henry Adler.
Okay.
So I've become a student, and then obviously when I was going on to when I did my doctorate, I was also studying jazz vibes with Brian Carrot and that type of I did a lot of studying that way. So I'm always learning, and now it's so easy these days where you can look on YouTube and sometimes you see some really good stuff, and sometimes you see something like, okay, well that doesn't help me at all.
Right. So and that's something everybody now has a forum. So if you're a lesser player or don't know as much, you can still put your content out there, and people can pick up your bad habits. Do you think that there's something to be said for taking some structured lessons from somebody one-on-one?
Absolutely. Even if it's done remotely,
right?
It's still you get somebody who has the experience that you don't, and you find out and you learn about things, and then sometimes it's just a discussion with somebody that has been there,
right?
That you have, and you can talk about things. Like I remember lessons with Henry Adler half the time, and we were talking about attitudes. I went in there and I told him that I just played a gig with this guy, and his time was terrible. I was really trying to lock him in and keeping him steady and everything else. And Henry said to me, he said, who was paying you? I said, he was. I said, he goes, he's not going to call you again. I said, well, I don't want to play with him either. It was terrible. I hated it. He goes, but he's not going to play, and you're going to have a bad reputation because you didn't follow him. He was the leader. You're not hired you were hired as a sideman. So, sure enough, probably a year later, I get this phone call from him, frantic phone calls. My drummer just canceled on me. I have a gig in a couple hours. Can you make it? And I said, yeah, I'm available today. So I did the gig, And I stuck. He got faster, I got faster. He got slower, I got slower. He got louder, I got louder. He got soft, whatever. I stuck with him like glue. At the end of the gig, he goes, man, you've really improved, man. He goes, I have all these other gigs. Could you reveal? I go, I'm really very busy now because so I'm not available. But give me a call if you need me in a pinch. And I went back and I had my lesson with Henry that next week. And I told him, and of course, Henry always would smack me. He goes, see, I told you. Goes, now he's going to be telling people your name and your reputation's going to be better because you stuck with him. And because he was one of paying you.
Right.
So that was just a lesson learned.
That's it.
And
that's kind of the same thing I preach to younger musicians today is if you have a singer, play to their strengths. Like feed your singer. If the singer's a metal singer, don't bring him a jazz song.
Right.
I get you want to do jazz or classical or something crazy, but if that's the guy, he's going to be your focus. Let him do his thing. Be his backup.
And it's amazing that some of these players can play. But my question is, can they drive a band? Sometimes you have to play simple. And simple is sometimes more important for the overall thing. You have to play the song. And you have to play the venue. If you're in a small place,
right,
you've got to play light. I'm a drummer. Yeah, I want to play a little heavy. But if that place is small, I'll pick out brushes if it needs to be.
Right, so coming from New York, and this is kind of a personal question that I didn't have. Are you familiar with Padelson's Music House?
Sure.
That was my family.
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, very cool.
So I just that was.
That was right around the corner from Carnegie Hall.
Carnegie Hall, yeah.
Oh, I know.
That's right. And which was a great feeding station for them for years until the internet kind of. Yeah. That's kind of did the member. Yeah.
I've gone. I went to Pedalson many times to buy music and
right. And as a kid, but it's a very nice legacy to have. Absolutely. But I definitely. What was your high school experience like playing with cover bands then, or playing with bands?
Well,
were there a lot of musicians to choose from? A lot of bands, or
coming from Long Island, there's a lot of musicians there, all over the place, and all different levels. And in high school, I was, besides playing school band and chorus and stuff, and doing musicals, I had my own band in high school. We were playing weddings. We were doing club dates, so we were making really good money for kids.
Now, obviously, weddings are different, but your club dates, what was the kind of set list of music you were working with?
Well, back then it was the band. We didn't play too many clubs because of our ages,
right?
But that's why we did more weddings and society gigs, that type of thing. VFW parties and stuff like that. It was really more like whatever people wanted to hear, and back then it was going to be some big band stuff. It was some 60s, some 50s type of thing.
So how does music or being a musician factor into your life now? I know you still play, but how do you balance out now your passion for music, time with family, other hobbies you want to do? Is there still is it still a major driving force for you? Is it still a large part, or?
Music is pretty much my life. I do enjoy aerial photography. I'm a certified drone pilot. I did that during COVID because everything was kind of shut down, so I kind of picked up that little hobby. I love boating. I love hunting. But music is really my passion, and that's pretty much what drives me for anything I do.
Now, speaking of COVID, how was that like for you? Were you in a working band at the time?
Yeah, I was working with a band, but then things kind of dried up with that.
Right.
Actually, at the time, because I was retired and I was living here in Pennsylvania, I opened up a small little restaurant.
Oh my goodness!
And then COVID hit and destroyed my business. So,
oh my God!
I went from having fun cooking, because I like to cook, and I had fun, was doing that, and had a small little place, was doing very well, COVID hit and everything fell apart. So, like I said, then over over the past several years, I've been back and playing a couple of different bands, and now I'm with Wagner Road. I'm real happy with the band, and it's a good good group of people, and there's no drama, which sometimes in some bands there's drama.
Right. Really honestly, I get to see a lot of the stuff you guys do firsthand, and I'm amazed at how well the band functions, because that's definitely a situation. It's 5 people in the band, a lot of personalities, a lot of egos. You're all a little bit older. You're not kids, and that kind of happens more. But still, everybody has their thing. Like, you could see how, man, you could, one small thing could kind of tip that, and you always seem to come out. It's great to see you guys interact the way you do.
Yeah, like I said, I'm real happy with this, with being in this band now, because I feel that there's no drama. Everybody respects each other. We're all on the same team. We work well together. And it's kind of weird. I all my life I've always been the youngest one in every band, and now I'm the oldest.
Isn't that funny how that happens when
like overnight? It's like suddenly I'm the oldest one in the band.
Yeah. You're always the young, driven, hungry guy, and then one day you wake up and you're like, ugh.
But meanwhile, I'm the one holding all this equipment. It's like, matter of fact, the other night somebody said, it's like, maybe you should like play something with less equipment. I said, like harmonica. I'll just play harmonica. What's going with harmonica?
Music isn't the easiest path to choose for a career or even as a hobby. It's one of the few occupations where being the best doesn't always mean making the most money or having the biggest impact on the people who listen, buy, and love music. Today, we're inundated with cell phones, video games, and social media, which have become such an addictive distraction to the real world. How do we inspire this next generation to pursue or even begin to discover music as a means of expression and performance?
Well, I guess just by example, as a teacher, teaching students to enjoy music. It doesn't have to necessarily be their whole life, and if they really want to get into that, they also need to know that there's no overnight sensations. Many times people are successful 10 years later, or longer.
And then they're an overnight sensation.
Then they're overnight in 10 years. Yes.
That's every overnight.
Well, Alabama was, I think they were a local band down in Myrtle Beach for like 10 years before they even could get arrested, type of thing. So
absolutely. Do you feel our generation has a responsibility to the next generation to kind of be there, to kind of help them? Because there are not that there aren't still the opportunities to discover music, but you're playing Minecraft, or you're playing war games, you're online, the world is so much smaller now, and instead of just having the 6 friends in your neighborhood that you run around with, there's this entire world that's so addictive. Do we have a responsibility to kind of be there to guide them? And if not us, is there something just as a society we need to do to kind of put a cap on this with the cell phones and the iPads? And
well, I think the best thing that happened to me as a kid is that I had to go out and hear music, had to hear it live. We went to record stores and bought records, but it wasn't until you hear something live that it suddenly makes sense. So everybody with their cell phones, they're all they'll sit at the table with other people eating and everything, and no one's talking to each other. They're on their phones. It's okay for studying things, but you need to, with music is interactive. You have to react to someone else playing. If I'm playing with a band with you, and we're playing and you do something, I want to know what you're doing. I want to hear it. I want to react to it musically, and that only happens live. That doesn't happen, looking at a cell phone or at a video. Although now that they're having where you can rehearse with people 500 miles away from each other, that's kind of cool. But it's.
But I think even that, so I know there's a difference between becoming a really good musician in your bedroom and playing with a metronome, and actually playing with a bunch of live musicians. You can play with tracks and you could be a man. Then you get a lot, and all of a sudden there's someone else is slowing up, or something else is happening, or someone falls behind, or hits a wrong note, and then there's things happening, and you have to adjust to that. That you can only get that from really going in and doing that,
but doing it live,
right,
with people, absolutely,
yeah.
And that's yeah. I think we have a responsibility. I think to any other musician that we interact with. So, and young musicians should be looking to the older musicians. Learn the roots, learn from where they came from, because that's your whole idea, your genre that you might be involved in. Might be one specific, I don't know, heavy metal, say. But a lot of heavy metal drummers and musicians also have a history of music.
Right.
And they had, that wasn't what they were playing. They choose to play it now. And a lot of young players, they think, well, this is all I'm going to do. Well, I learn to read music, study with somebody. Okay, and do a lot of listening, live listening. Go and hear people play. You'll hear great stuff, and you'll hear some stuff that's really lame. But that also helps you develop your taste, your style, and the more you play with other people, the better.
So, right. Brings me up to AI. It's not a new thing. It's been around for a while. But over the last few years, it's really bulldozed its way into the collective of everything, and it's brought a very divisive dialogue. Music as a creative art form is being targeted heavily by AI. What are your thoughts on AI regarding its relationship to music?
Well, just like when they started coming out with drum machines, it's a substitute. It works. You can create things with that, but it's not the human factor. And music throughout the ages has all been from here. And just like even recording, you now could do all these recording things, things on your phone, even video on your phone. Right. All these things that could be very creative. It's not the same. Like, I've played shows where everything was tracks, and people they'll see what's on stage, and they'll listen to it, and they think, oh, it's really sounds great. But there are people that will say, but it doesn't have any life to it. It's sterile. Well, yeah, and that's the problem, I think, with AI, is that it is in certain situations, like doing things for like commercials, coming up with some ideas or orchestrations or some basic music for background music for commercials. Yeah, it could be very lucrative if you know how to use it and work with that, and you can create a lot of things that way. But music, I think itself, it's all those little dots on the page, interpreting it and making it's sonically something with passion, that comes from the person, is I think is important. Again,
right. I think
performing live, whether it be orchestral or I don't know, anything totally electric. It's still, if it's being created by a human at the time,
right,
then it's to me is music. If it's not being created that way, then it's sound, organized sound, which really is kind of what music is.
Right.
But I agree with you. Music is passion. Music is comes from within, and when we're talking about a computer creating it, it's coming from within the computer. Okay, so we have robots coming out now. We have robots that do different things for menial tasks and driving cars, or whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of stuff that's now is all AI driven. But sorry, I'll drive my own car. I want to be responsible for
right.
my own car. I want to be responsible for my own music. If I'm creating a sound, if it's me, part of me, or part of a collective of musicians, I don't want it to be computer driven.
For the younger musicians, you guys get out there and perform your stuff. Show people what you can do. Any gigs or anything else going on with Wagner Road? Wagner Road, by the way, I was going to have a big moment and reveal he was from Wagner Road, but you said that.
I already said it before.
But that's great. But yeah, Wagner. Anything going on with you guys? What do you have going on?
Well,
this summer?
we've been playing. We've been playing now gigs the past several weeks.
Yeah, I see it out all the time.
We have some things going on this spring. We have a lot more things going on this summer. Some private parties, some clubs, and we're doing the GDS fair.
And you're really a good band. So I'll be honest with you. It would be a great night. Glad to see you guys. I know you're on Facebook. Any other social media platforms, you guys?
The band is on Facebook. I believe there's Instagram. Right now, at this point, we're just looking at starting to work on some original tunes, and we'll probably come in to record some of that in the next several months. I had to play, but
now, is there anything we didn't touch on, or something that I didn't ask you that you'd like to put out there, clarify, or clear up?
Well, not really.
That brings us to the final 10.
Oh.
So what sound do you love?
What sound do I love?
Yes.
Music. It's that.
What sound do you hate?
Screeching chalk on a chalkboard.
What's your favorite word?
My favorite word? I don't really have a favorite word. Can't think of one.
What's your least favorite word?
I'll tell you my least favorite expression. My bad. You know why I don't like it? Because basically, it's like, I don't give a shit. It's like, I made a mistake. Oh, well, big deal. Well, no, it is a big deal. If you made a mistake and it affects me, it's a big deal,
What's your favorite curse word?
Oh, gee, that's interesting. There's a lot of them. I've probably said just about everyone that you could think of, and I've used them all, probably in the proper connotation too. But
what's your favorite thing about being a musician?
Just making music.
What's your least favorite thing about being a musician?
Moving all my stuff. I hate moving all that shit, but it is what it is.
If you didn't have music, what do you think would fill the void?
Gee, I don't know. I've never thought of that because I've always had music. It's always been part of my life, even from a little kid. So that's a foreign idea for me.
Okay. And what is the greatest music film?
The greatest music film?
Yeah.
There's so many great musical scores for films. All the John Williams films were exceptional. It's hard to pin one down.
What's the greatest song? To you.
To me?
To you. What's your favorite?
It depends on the day.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
really. I mean, you hear something and say, "Oh, yeah, that's a great song." And "Oh yeah," or I'll listen to music that I played years ago, or something like Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, something like that. I'll listen to, or Earth, Wind, and Fire. Well, yeah, that's great stuff. And next minute, I was listening to Ozzy when in high school. Here it was before metal was cool. That's,
Well, I just want to thank you for today. Pete DeSalvo from Wagner Road, musician, composer, teacher. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate it. Thank
you very much.